I'm Claudine Wong with KTVU in the San Francisco Bay Area, and thanks for joining us. I'm joined now by Chris Wegner, who is the president and the CEO of Stratus Building Solutions, and we are talking about cleaning because never before have people been so careful about how they clean, and they want to know the businesses that they are going into are also just as vigilant about this. Chris, how has this kind of changed? We talked about, you took over this business last year. The industry looked like something at that point. It looks like something I think really different now.
Yeah, it sure is. Obviously everything that has been going on recently, there's a heightened awareness of, properly disinfecting facilities. And now that we're starting to reopen, companies want to make sure that they're adequately prepared to bring in their employees and, to start bringing in, the customers.
So let me ask you, who was your typical client prior to this, in terms of who was big enough to say, okay, yeah, we want to have you come in and make sure that you've kind of disinfected everything, and then we can start the day, in a clean and healthy and sanitized way. I mean, who was your typical client before?
Well, obviously medical facilities, any of those that we service, they have always had a need for making sure that their facilities are properly disinfected. But also other facilities such as daycare, schools, those facilities understand, the importance of having, their facilities disinfected.
So how has your client base maybe changed then in the last 3 or 4 months, in terms of people who are reaching out saying, maybe you can help us as well?
Yeah, so, really what I've seen and the way things are starting to trend is facilities such as grocery store, supermarkets, they are understanding that, there's a need to disinfect, not just certain areas of their facility, but, throughout the facility, because obviously they're having so much traffic coming in. It's hard to determine, who might be contracting, a flu or COVID-19. So now, what we're doing is we're disinfecting their entire facility, from, the cash registers, through the entry and exit points of the facility.
So that's how high tech, how high tech is this process? I'll pull up some video of you doing, just kind of showing us what the process is for you guys. And just tell me, in terms of, first tell me what's happening right here.
So what we're doing right here is, this is an electrostatic handheld unit. They also, we have the backpack units. And what we're doing is we're applying a mist on all the vertical and horizontal surfaces. And by the nature of the technology, when it's discharged, it's positively charged and attaching itself to all the surfaces, vertical and horizontal. And while it's drying, it's disinfecting. And after it's dry, it'll continue to disinfect any of the surfaces that it's touched.
So how does this compare to, the spray bottle, and a cloth, and the cleaning that, we see happening all the time?
Well, I think, the biggest advantage of the electrostatic technology is that when we apply it, we're letting it self-dry, rather than a lot of people, when they're doing disinfecting, they're spraying it into a cloth or onto a surface and then wiping it off immediately. So a lot of people aren't aware that all disinfectants have a dwell time, which means that once it's on the surface, it has a contact time to allow it to adequately disinfect that surface that it has come in contact with.
So are we wiping it off too fast, just in our general lives, that we should let it sit for a second?
We're letting it dry. We're letting it self-dry. So like I said, this product, its dwell time is actually 1 minute, but we allow it to completely dry. It takes anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, depending on, the area that we're spraying.
And is this new technology, or has this been done for a while? I mean, has this been kind of, where's the industry standard here in terms of what people are doing?
So actually, it's not a new tech. It's a newer technology. It's just been made more aware now, lately with everything going on. We've actually been doing this for well over a year now. So we have a lot of experience using the electrostatic disinfecting techniques, and then also electric sprayers. It's not brand new, to answer
Yeah.
your question.
So I guess is, for you guys, are you seeing, so much that the people reaching out to you has gone big, and that you're trying to keep up with the demand? Are you trying to convince people? Because certainly we're in tough economic times. So anyone who hires anyone to do these services, and trying to figure out what do we need to do? What are you seeing in terms of, can businesses afford these kinds of services? Can they afford not to have these extra services, and are they doing it, employees, customers? I mean, it's really kind of, I guess, for everyone.
Yeah, good question. What I'm seeing and how things are trending is that, more companies are obviously they're reaching out, and they are initially, the way it was trending is that they were looking for a one-time, you know, electrostatic disinfecting. Now, as we are preparing to reopen, a lot of our existing customers and new customers, they're interested in getting the service multiple times a week. And to answer your question, the electrostatic, I mean, think about it, it's actually a very cost-effective and very non-invasive cleaning technique for disinfecting, because we're not physically wiping down every single item. Imagine if we had to wipe down and disinfect. First, you got to clean the surface and then disinfect it, allow the adequate dwell time. And if you're manually wiping down that, it's a lot more labor intensive. So the electrostatic or electric spraying is a much, much more cost-effective solution for companies to do disinfecting, to adequately do disinfecting.
I mean, we're watching you do a store right now. How long would it take you to do a typical grocery store, with this method? I mean, it's a very slow and methodical kind of process here.
Yeah, so this particular facility that we're doing, it's 90, I want to say about 80,000 square feet, and it takes three of us about 3 hours. So about, anywhere, it takes about, usually about 8 to 9 man hours to do a facility this size. Using the electrostatic technology.
So in terms of the technology, and in terms of supply chain and your ability to do this, I mean, we were talking before this interview started about, people's ability just to get normal cleaning products to do their own house and to just, hand sanitizer was never so hard to find. So for you guys, in terms of, let's say, everyone's like, yeah, I'm on board, sign me up. Do you have enough supply to meet the growing demand?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and to answer your question, for us, we prepare already every year for the flu season. So I mean, I can just speak for Stratus. So we, prior to the flu season, we're already ordering, disinfectants, the adequate amount of PPE, personal protective equipment. We've already had the electrostatic and the electric sprayers. So, we're adequately prepared. But, the challenge right now, as the consumers are finding out, like you said, getting hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, things like that, it's a challenge. And for us too, trying to reorder products, like PPE and disinfectant, electrostatic sprayers and other tools, there's a wait time to get that. So for us, fortunately, we've prepared, and we do prepare every year to make sure that we have, an ample amount of resources to do these type of jobs.
Is what's in that sprayer, is that the magic sauce, or is it the type of sprayer that is making the difference? And we should be clear, this is stuff that you're using that has that whole 99%, right, that kills all that bacteria that we're worried about, whether it's flu, as you talked about, or COVID strains.
Yeah. So it's both. I mean, the technology with the sprayer is definitely cutting edge, and it's very effective. But the combination of the system and the product that we're using is really, is really what makes it so effective. And the product that we're using, it's like an Alka-Seltzer tablet. You put it in water, it dissolves, and it's ready to use in 3 to 5 minutes. And the combination of that is, like I said, is really, what makes it so good. It's
Yep.
so effective.
And big picture, every industry is looking at how it needs to change to adapt to this new normal that we're getting used to. I mean, it's not going to be okay in 2 months we all go back to the life that we knew in January.
Yeah.
It's going to be, looking ahead how we meet the new normal in whatever industry we're in your industry. Is are people doing enough? Are companies doing enough to meet the new normal and the demands that we will certainly see?
You know, I I think that with everything that's gone on, like I said, there's a heightened awareness, and companies are now, as we're reopening, they're trying to adequately prepare to bring in their, obviously their employees and customers. And so what we're seeing is, a lot of inquiries to help them get on a plan to reopen, and then put them on a schedule, like I said, a recurring schedule, to make sure that they're adequately disinfecting their facilities. So, first of all, for reopening, you want to make sure that, before we're doing disinfecting, that, we're wiping down all the surfaces, and cleaning the dust, any spills, sticky surfaces. And then we're doing the disinfectant with the electrostatic technology. And,
So
obviously,
one doesn't replace the other. It's the addition we should be adding to our routine instead of
yeah,
trading things in
exactly,
our routine. Um,
exactly.
how would you give a percentage of, because as consumers, we want to believe that everyone's doing as best they can. And certainly I think as business owners are kind of expanding their protocols and taking a look at them. I mean, when you go out into the world, knowing what you do about bacteria and all these things of trying to get, what percentage of people are doing it as well as they need to, because we're all worried about getting back into a safe environment.
Well, my feeling is from the inquiries that we're getting is that these companies are taking it very seriously. I think that they see, the long-term effect and how this whole situation has really impacted our society. And, like I said, from our inquiries, they really are open to taking suggestions and us helping them put a plan in place for them to reopen, and to make sure that they're continually, disinfecting properly to safeguard their employees and the customers that are coming into their facility.
And I can't imagine that you turn away business, but I imagine some people are asking, is what we're doing okay? And in terms of the high priority businesses, like a grocery store or a retail business or a school or a medical facility, those obviously rise to the top. Are there other places that you could say to them when money is tight and resources are tight, that say, if you guys would just continue doing what you're doing, obviously what we're doing would be great, but yes, you can continue to just wipe down your counters the way you're doing, and I think you're going to be okay. Are there businesses that fall into that category as well?
There are
Yeah.
definitely some that, have already taken measures themselves, and I've met with them, and they have solid plans in place to make sure that they're, prepared adequately.
Yeah, I think the smaller folks, they have less surfaces and then people who can cover them. But certainly we are all looking at our grocery stores and our shopping carts and our registers and everything a lot differently these days, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I certainly appreciate the insight, Chris. It is an interesting way to look at how we move forward, and certainly I hope your supply will continue to meet with the demand that we're seeing.
Thank you very much.
All right. Chris Wegner with Stratus Building Solutions, the president and the CEO. And of course, for more interviews, you can always go to coronavirusnow.com. Thanks so much for joining us.